Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to Mkolisi Mgojo, the CEO of Exxaro Mining, which has just announced a very interesting decarbonization strategy. Mkolisi, could you please outline Exxaro's decarbonization strategy and the benefits this strategy is poised to bring to Exxaro?
I think one needs to understand and give context as to the necessity for us to actually come up with a decarbonization strategy. And that is very much really premised on the fact that issues of climate change are a big reality in our lives. The impacts of climate change and the need for us as an organization, as a country, as a world, to ensure that we make the necessary commitments insofar as dealing with the negative impacts as have been defined, through the various scientists' analysis of what a +2-degree type of world, the consequences of that, of which already we have seen what has been happening in various countries in terms of changes in weather patterns and how these weather patterns are beginning to have very devastating effects, not only on the environment, but impacting on the people. So it's a reality that, it's that we all have to deal with as global citizens. And so with that being said, we also recognize the fact that because as Exxaro, we are a predominantly a fossil fuel-based business in terms of mining coal, that the headwinds against all fossil fuels as a source of energy going into the future are going to be very much under threat. And as a matter of fact, there is the move towards alternative ways of generating electricity, utilizing renewables as a means of augmenting the use of fossil fuels. And that's a reality. And so part of what we have done is to understand the fact that in dealing with this reality, in dealing with this energy transition that has to happen as part of this climate change abatement, we have also had to look at how we're going to respond as an organization. And so therefore, understanding also from a socio-economic point of view within the South African context that whatever response we take as a country, we need to understand that socio-economic impacts that it will have in that transition will be quite devastating on communities, on people, if we are not strategic about how we manage this just transition. So there's a whole lot of elements that come into this whole strategy around decarbonization. It's about a just transition. It's about making sure that in that transition, people are not left behind. The poor don't get worse off. Instead, the poor and the very much those who are marginalized are also going to be beneficiaries of this just transition. So how have we, as Exxaro, looking at this? Well, first of all, recognizing that we could end up having stranded assets, coal assets, we've came up with our early value strategy, which has been very much communicated in the market in terms of how we are looking at our coal product mix in terms of high quality coals that we are saying that still has demand in the global market. We're not asking ourselves, how long is that runway? We're saying that we cannot determine how long that runway is for coal, but what we can do is that we can extract as much value today of our coal assets while we're in this transition and using some of the proceeds, not only to give back to the shareholders, but also to ensure that we can now start looking at other areas of growth, talking to renewables, talking to the other minerals of the future, which we will talk about. But also understanding that as part of our decarbonization is also playing to our strength that we already had put in place many years ago in terms of being a player in the renewable energy space as far back as in 2009, when we first signed the first MOU in actually developing a project that we were then preparing ourselves at the time when the government was going to now introduce renewables as part of a future energy mix into the future. And we started already in 2009 playing into that space. And in 2012, we then created Cennergi, which was a joint venture at that point in time, 50-50 joint venture with Tata Power, to create this whole new renewable energy platform, of which in 2016, we were then able to build 2 renewable wind farms in the Eastern Cape to the tune of 229 megawatts. So we've been playing in this space of decarbonizing our business as early as that, because the net benefit of the level of decarbonization that comes about with introducing renewables is the part that really sets now us into the next phase of our decarbonization strategy. And that is now in 2019, we then acquired 100% of our Cennergi, of which now we are using that as a base to actually start looking at how we're going to decarbonize our existing assets, coal assets, by providing self-generation opportunities to actually support our mines to actually decarbonize. So looking at our own projects, there's an opportunity to actually bring in about renewable energy business to support Grootegeluk, to support Belfast, to support Matla, to the tune of 93 megawatts in terms of those 3 projects. And the net benefit of that is that just looking at Grootegeluk alone, which is going to be a 70 megawatt renewable energy solution for them, being developed by our energy business on a arm's length based contract with Grootegeluk mine as an off-taker, helping them to secure future reliability of electricity, helping them to also bring down their cost of electricity, and also helping them to also reduce their carbon footprint. That renewable energy solution on its own is going to reduce Grootegeluk's carbon emissions by 35%. Just one project. So that is the extent that with which we are actually utilizing our resources, our energy business, as a way of actually decarbonizing our own business. Obviously, this is a business that we are creating. This is a business where we are leveraging our skills and knowledge within mining, where now we are also offering those solutions where we are talking to other mining companies who are looking at wanting to also bring in renewable energy into their businesses, but not necessarily wanting to invest capital in achieving that, but also just signing long-term PPA agreements. We are talking to those type of other mining companies because we understand mining, we understand the nuances of mining, we understand what would it would take, as much as we are doing it for our own mines, we understand their problem statement. So now we will then be utilizing that as an opportunity now to further support the decarbonization of the mining industry, to further support the decarbonization of our country in terms of its carbon emissions. And so that is part of the decarbonization strategy. Obviously, you would have also be aware that we've also came up with a climate change statement back in 2019, if I recall, whereby we said we want to be carbon neutral by 2050. And with that, we also went into an exercise in terms of the TCFD recommendations that came about as an exercise in terms of how are we going to respond with regard to climate change, with set understanding of milestones and targets that we're going to have to come up with in 2025, 2030, 2040, 2050. And that's the process now where now we have put a decarbonization team who are going to come up now with a full decarbonization plan on not only looking at renewables as being a source, but looking at all other aspects within our business in terms of not just only energy intensity, but water intensity and other aspects with which we're going to have to deal with in terms of responding to a climate change, because by and large, we are going to be competing for water in this country as part of the issues regarding the big climatic changes that we are seeing. So we need to understand and baseline all of these things in terms of now, how are we going to come up with ways of mitigating our excess use of water that, that may be there. But this is, by the way, this is a thing that we've been looking at over, for many years. But I think now we are saying that if we're going to get to that and also deal with climate impacts that the climate change brings about in terms of scarcity of water, we need to have a solution for that. So this is a long journey that we are on, but it's a journey which by and large, we are able to then say, we as Exxaro are committing as part of the country's response to what they're going to be taking to COP. These are some of the measures that we are taking.
And could you please outline how Exxaro will use its coal mining experience to enter the low carbon minerals world and target green minerals that have the best chance of success in your view?
Well, I mean, look, Exxaro by nature, if you look at it historically, has been a diversified business. We have been in base metals, we've been in TiO2, we've been in iron ore when it was still Kumba. So we do have the experience in mining other minerals other than just coal. And over the past few years, I think we've been able to demonstrate to the market our ability to actually leverage our current coal assets in such a way that we've been able to reduce our costs, we've been able to improve efficiencies and productivity, and on a real cost basis, and we've been able to reduce our costs, and we've been able to be really recognized, also utilizing our new digital skills and platforms that we've put into the business, that we've really, I believe we've got a very good mining team that understands the drivers of mining, that understand how we can realize value, of which we are currently doing with our current coal business. And therefore, being a bulk miner, we are saying that we've been in base metals before. We were in zinc, we were in various jurisdictions around the globe. And when you're looking at one of the base metals that we're looking to being copper, it's very much talks to our strength and capabilities of mining, in terms of how we've done that within the zinc mines that we used to run and the smelters we used to run. And so I am very, very confident that we've got the skills and capabilities to actually do that going into the future. So I am very happy to just say that we are very much strong in making sure that we understand how the mining value chain, right from pit to port, and also from market back to the pit, in terms of responding dynamically to market conditions. We've been able to show and demonstrate that on the coal side. But also we recognize the fact that we have made mistakes in the past. And on that basis, we have gone and looked at some of the mistakes that we've done in some of our investments in the past to say, what are the lessons we can learn from these mistakes? And how do we improve on that so that when we go now into these new areas, we have also going there with a lot of homework that has been done and a lot of understanding. That's what we tried to highlight yesterday at our Capital Markets Day, the extent with which we actually analyzed the various commodities from a demand and supply point of view, and also looking into how they play into supporting a green economy going into the future. So we believe that we are well poised, given our experience, to be able to also go and mine these minerals, as we have, like I said, been a diversified mining company in the past.
And just getting back to renewables, this is hugely promising and already functioning renewable energy business. And now you're strategizing to not only be domestic, but also international when it comes to renewables.
Yes, I mean, look, we see the opportunities beyond South Africa. I mean, renewable energy is the future of the energy mix going into the future. And one of the things we also don't want to do is to put all our eggs in one basket in one jurisdiction. we want to diversify. We want to be able to play to new growth areas. And so we are building capabilities. I mean, if you look at today in South Africa, from a South African-owned renewable asset owner, we are the second largest in South Africa. The number one is Old Mutual. All the other players who are playing into this space are basically have got foreign ownership. We own Cennergi as a South African company, 100%, and we are the second biggest energy player, renewable energy player that is South African owned, that owns 100% of its assets. And we are leveraging that, and of course at 200 what we've also done is that beyond wind, during our time when we were looking at business of tomorrow, people may not know that during that time when we're looking on the energy side, we actually created a 2 megawatt of solar facilities where on 9 different facilities to the tune of 9 megawatts were created. And why is that so important? In as much as 2 megawatts might not seem that big, it is important in the fact that for each one of those facilities, we had to go through a full regulatory process in terms of not only doing the project, but licensing the projects so that we can actually produce and power from them. So we had to go through the whole regulatory with NERSA and all of that to license each one of those. So we've done 9 separate licenses already in terms of the process that now is opening up from a private to private type of process, not just only from a utility supplying Eskom, but being able to supply to third parties. That gave us the understanding and the skill of the regulatory environment, building and understanding what it actually what is required, which now is going to put us in a very good position today with now opening up and liberalizing the whole energy, renewable energy environment in South Africa, where now you are going to be able to trade and sell power from a private to private, and that we've already got the lessons of how to do that. So when we talk to potential customers, we are able to say, we've gone through this process, we've done it 9 times, and we understand it. And not only do we understand the technical solutions, but we also understand how you go and navigate the regulatory environment to enable that to happen.
That's wonderful. And you've also been streaking ahead on the digitization front. Could you outline this digitization journey that you've been on and how this is benefiting your world and could benefit the mining world as a whole?
Well, our journey in digitalization has been going for the last 4 to 5 years. We have created a digital mine in Belfast. We've created digital twins. We have embedded digital throughout our whole business. And we are seeing the real benefits of that in terms of the productivity and efficiencies, not only in our operations, but right across our business. I mean, we've got digital robots doing a lot of our day-to-day manual processes, which are laborious, which are labor intensive. We've got those now in the business. So we have really been very much looking into the future in terms of how we want to now continue to mature the levels of our digital platform. We have end-to-end visibility of the whole value chain of our business right from one place. You can actually understand every element of what is happening within that business in a virtual way. We have now entered that second level where we have collected enough sufficient data over the years now, where we are now building algorithms, we're building AI capabilities now for predictive maintenance, for decision making, where the next aspect is to say now, how are we going to have AI as a core of driving our business going into the future? So we've also recently teamed up with the University of Pretoria's engineering and IM faculties, whereby we are financing a chair there to collaborate with them to build the extended reality technologies that are going to be applicable for mining applications, which will also support how we use extended reality for safety and health matters. So we're going to that next level now, where we are saying that we need to partner with other innovative minds out there in terms of the next generations of digital platforms that can enhance value into the mining industry.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Mkolisi Mgojo, the CEO of Exxaro Mining.